Long before the Incas, the history of Peru was already rich and vibrant, a tapestry woven with the threads of numerous distinct cultures. Peru was home to remarkable civilizations, each leaving its indelible mark on the landscape and the collective memory of the region. These societies thrived in harsh landscapes, from arid deserts to towering mountains, showcasing incredible adaptability and ingenuity. The Norte Chico civilization, emerging millennia ago, stands as one of the oldest in the Americas, a testament to the early development of complex societies in this part of the world. They built monumental mounds at Carroll, a sprawling urban centre revealing a complex society with sophisticated social structures and advanced agricultural practices. Centuries later, the Nazca culture left behind the mysterious Nazca lines, an enduring puzzle that continues to captivate researchers and visitors alike. These are vast geoglyphs etched into the desert floor, only truly visible from the sky, their scale and precision a marvel of ancient engineering. The purpose of these lines is still debated, with theories ranging from astronomical calendars to ritual pathways. The Nazca were also master ceramicists, creating intricate and colourful pottery that provides valuable insights into their beliefs and daily life. Meanwhile, the Moche, their northern contemporaries, flourished along the coast, excelling in metallurgy, crafting exquisite gold and silver artifacts that reflect their power and artistry. They also built massive adobe pyramids known as huacas, serving as centres of religious and political authority. Lavish Moche tombs, filled with precious objects like that of the Lord of Sipan, one of the most spectacular archaeological discoveries in the Americas, revealed the wealth and sophistication, the complex social hierarchy of these early societies, offering a glimpse into their beliefs about life, death, and the cosmos. Other cultures, such as the Paracas, known for their textiles, incredibly well preserved and intricately designed, and the Wari and Tiwanaku, who built their highland empires, developing sophisticated agricultural techniques and urban planning, laid the foundations for the Inca, shaping the cultural and political landscape of the Andes. These civilizations collectively shaped Peru's cultural and technological legacy, leaving behind a wealth of knowledge and innovation, setting the stage, creating a rich tapestry of traditions and advancements for the rise of the Inca and their magnificent empire. In the 13th century, amidst the diverse tapestry of Andean cultures, the Inca emerged from Cusco, a humble tribe initially, but through strategic alliances and military prowess, they began forging an empire called Tawantinsuyu, a name that resonated with ambition and destiny. This grand realm, Tawantinsuyu, meant the land of the four quarters, a testament to its division into distinct administrative regions, each contributing to the empire's strength. Visionary rulers like Pachacuti, a transformative figure in Inca history, expanded the empire through conquest, skillfully integrating new territories and populations into their growing domain. They also used diplomacy, forging alliances and negotiating peaceful integrations where possible, uniting diverse peoples with varying customs and beliefs under a single banner. This was all achieved under a centralized state, with Cusco as its beating heart, orchestrating the empire's vast affairs. To maintain control and facilitate communication, the Inca built a vast road network, a marvel of engineering that crisscrossed the Andes. They used quipus, intricate knotted strings for record-keeping, meticulously tracking resources, population and historical events. The Inca organized society into alus, close-knit communities that formed the bedrock of their social structure. With the Sapa Inca, the emperor considered divine, at the top wielding absolute power. Their engineering feats, testaments to their ingenuity, like Cusco's stone walls precisely fitted without mortar, and the breathtaking citadel of Machu Picchu, demonstrate their architectural genius, a blend of functionality and artistic vision. Their structures were built in harmony with nature, respecting and enhancing the landscape. Advanced agriculture, a cornerstone of their prosperity, including terracing, which transformed steep mountain slopes into arable land, and sophisticated irrigation, channeling water to even the most remote fields, sustained their population, allowing the empire to flourish. Yet internal stresses grew. simmering beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect society. As the empire expanded, stretching its resources and administrative capabilities, and succession disputes, power struggles within the royal family led to instability, weakening the empire's foundations. A civil war between Huáscar, the legitimate heir, and Atahualpa, his ambitious half-brother, fatally weakened the empire, leaving it vulnerable to outside forces. This division left the Inca vulnerable, their once impregnable defenses now fractured. It was just as a new and unexpected threat, an unforeseen challenge, arrived from across the sea, forever altering the course of Inca history. In 1532, Francisco Pizarro and his conquistadors arrived, exploiting the Inca civil war and the devastation of European diseases. The capture and execution of Atahualpa shattered Inca leadership, making resistance difficult. The Spanish installed a puppet emperor, but rebellions like that of Manco Inca were ultimately crushed. By the 1570s, with the fall of Vilcabamba, Spanish rule was firmly established. The Viceroyalty of Peru, centered in Lima, imposed a new colonial order, exploiting indigenous labor in mines like Potosi. The Catholic Church led campaigns to convert and control the population, suppressing native traditions. Colonial society was defined by racial hierarchy and economic extraction. This legacy of exploitation and cultural upheaval would shape Peru for centuries. Centuries of colonial oppression fueled resistance, most famously the Tupac Amaru II rebellion in the 1780s, which, though crushed, inspired future generations. The early 1800s brought revolutionary ideas and weakened Spanish control, but Lima's elite hesitated, fearing social upheaval. Independence came through the efforts of José de San Martin and Simón Bolívar, who led armies into Peru. San Martin proclaimed independence in 1821, but royalist forces held out in the highlands. Bolívar's arrival and victories at Junín and Ayacucho in 1824 finally broke Spanish power. The Battle of Ayacucho marked the end of Spanish rule in South America. Peru emerged sovereign, but its new freedom was fragile and hard-won. Independence brought turmoil, not stability. The 19th century saw Peru plagued by caudillos, military strongmen, and frequent coups, stalling democratic progress. The guano boom brought fleeting wealth, but mismanagement and foreign debt left the economy vulnerable. Border disputes with neighbors led to costly wars, while the military remained a dominant political force. Leaders like Ramón Castilla abolished slavery and promoted modernization, but reforms were often short-lived. Weak institutions and economic dependency persisted. The legacy of instability and military intervention would haunt Peru into the next century. The War of the Pacific, 1879-1883, devastated Peru, as it and Bolivia fought Chile over the nitrate-rich Atacama Desert. Chile's superior navy and military quickly gained the upper hand, capturing the Peruvian ironclad Huáscar and killing Admiral Grau, a national hero. Chilean forces occupied Lima, and resistance continued in the highlands but ultimately failed. The Treaty of Ancon forced Peru to cede Tarapacá and temporarily lose Tacna and Arica. The war exposed Peru's internal divisions and institutional weaknesses. Economic ruin and national trauma followed, with a long, difficult period of reconstruction. The loss of territory and resources left deep scars on the national psyche. Rebuilding the economy and morale became a national priority. The early 20th century saw power concentrated in an elite aristocratic republic, excluding most Peruvians from politics. Social inequalities fueled new movements. APRA, founded by Haya de la Torre, championed anti-imperialism and social justice, while Marxist ideas gained ground through thinkers like Mariátegui. The century was marked by swings between democracy and military rule, with coups often justified by fears of radicalism or crisis. General Velasco's 1968-75 regime attempted radical land reform and nationalization aiming for social democracy, but results were mixed. Authoritarianism limited popular participation, and economic difficulties led to a return to civilian rule. Persistent social divisions and unstable governance defined the era. Peru's struggle for reform and inclusion continued into the modern age. The year 1980 marked a pivotal moment for Peru as the nation transitioned from a period of military rule back to democratic governance. After years of authoritarian control, the promise of free and fair elections ignited hope and optimism among the Peruvian people. However, this renewed sense of democratic possibility was soon overshadowed by a dark and menacing force, the rise of the Shining Path. This was a Maoist insurgency, a radical and violent movement that sought to overthrow the existing order and establish a communist state through armed struggle. The Shining Path was led by the enigmatic and ruthless Abimael Guzman, a former philosophy professor who preached a doctrine of revolutionary violence. Their brutal tactics, which included assassinations, bombings and massacres, were designed to instill fear and destabilize the country. The state's harsh response, characterized by military repression and human rights violations, only served to escalate the conflict. This deadly combination of insurgent violence and state repression plunged Peru into 2 decades of intense violence and political turmoil. The internal conflict left a devastating toll, with an estimated 70,000 people killed or disappeared, leaving countless families shattered and communities in mourning. The vast majority of the victims were poor, rural Peruvians, often caught between the crossfire of the Shining Path and the government forces. The prolonged conflict devastated the Peruvian economy, exacerbating poverty and inequality and hindering development. Beyond the economic costs, the violence deeply traumatized Peruvian society, leaving lasting scars on individuals and communities. Amidst this backdrop of crisis and despair, in 1990, an outsider named Alberto Fujimori emerged as a political force. Capitalizing on widespread discontent with the established political order, he won the presidency, promising to bring an end to the violence and restore stability. His central promise was order, a pledge to restore law and security to a nation weary of chaos. He also promised economic stability, vowing to implement reforms that would revitalize the country's struggling economy. In 1992, Fujimori took drastic action, dissolving Congress in a controversial self-coup, a move that consolidated his power. With expanded authority, he launched a more aggressive campaign to crack down on the insurgents. This culminated in the capture of Abimael Guzman in 1992, a major victory for the government. Guzman's capture significantly crippled the Shining Path, leading to its gradual decline and eventual defeat. Under Fujimori's leadership, Peru experienced a period of economic growth and stabilization, bringing some relief to the population. However, his rule was increasingly marred by widespread corruption, as evidence of embezzlement and illicit activities within his government began to surface. Furthermore, Fujimori's regime was characterized by authoritarian tendencies and serious human rights abuses, raising concerns both domestically and internationally. In the year 2000, Fujimori's regime ultimately collapsed amidst a wave of scandals and public protests. Years later, he was convicted for his role in human rights abuses committed during his time in office. He also faced charges and convictions related to corruption, highlighting the extent of the malfeasance that plagued his administration. Even today, Fujimori's legacy remains deeply divisive in Peru, with some crediting him for restoring order and stability, while others condemn his authoritarianism and human rights record. The 21st century began with Peru seeking truth and reconciliation after years of conflict and dictatorship. Democratic governments returned, but corruption and political instability persisted. Economic growth, driven by mineral exports, reduced poverty, but highlighted inequality and environmental challenges. Disputes over mining and indigenous rights became central political issues. Peru's rich cultural heritage, world-renowned cuisine, and archaeological wonders attract global attention. The nation continues to strive for stronger institutions and social justice. Peru's journey from ancient civilizations to modern democracy reflects the resilience and diversity of its people.